We are streaming live. Give me just a second to check to make sure the connection is nice and everything is working fine over here. Make sure the connection is nice. Sounds like we're doing good. Hello, everybody over at YouTube. I'm excited. Today has been a huge day for Helix users, Helix fans, and I'm here to go over my reaction to the live stream they just had earlier today. Everybody was waiting for it that are Helix users. This has been my first Helix video in a while, and what I want to do is join you in looking at the video, reacting to it, and maybe having a little discussion about what my thoughts are in this whole thing. Will I be buying whatever they announced? If you're watching this, you probably already know. If you haven't seen the live stream, spoiler alert, you're going to see everything in this video. So just heads up, warning, spoiler alert. It's called Helix, cover your ears, Helix Stadium and Helix Stadium XL. And yeah, a lot of great stuff coming out of this, and I'm so excited to get into it. So without further ado, let's jump to the live stream and kind of go over what is coming down the pike from line 6. Okay, so let me switch to my main display here, and we will very quickly see what's going on. This is about halfway through the video, a little over halfway. There's the mark if you want to watch it. The link to the Line 6 Helix is below. There's also links to my Helix presets and all that stuff. Link to the live stream below. Let's get started, and I'm going to put this in the playback speed of 1.25, actually 1.3, so that we don't have to go too much into it. So let's go to 1.3, and we'll go from there.
So 10 years later, to the hour, and Steve's taken my phone. So here we go. Bring on the next 10 years.
Is your mind blown yet? This is going to be awesome. This is going to be great. Let's continue and dive into this.
So this is a lot of to-do over a guitar processor. It's very embarrassing. We just make gear and talk about it online way too much. So this is clearly not a traditional product launch for us. Normally we would be at the NAMM show. We'd probably have some big band there. We'd have it catered. We'd have beer and that sort of stuff. And we'd fill the convention hall. But it didn't really it didn't make sense. So there are a few reasons why we're doing this early. Number one, the longer we waited, the greater chance it would leak. And somebody dropped prices early this morning, and people are already talking about it. But number two, I love y'all, but you wouldn't shut up about it. Number three, and most importantly, we always knew we wanted to do something for Helix's 10-year anniversary. We didn't know what it was going to be, but June 11th lands right between NAMM, so like, all right, what are we going to do? But the June 11th date was just kind of too great of an opportunity to miss. As Steve mentioned, all of you here and a bunch of you watching from home or on tour in studios or wherever, you've all been very integral to the success of Helix. And kind of unbeknownst to you all, you've also been mission critical and integral to the Nexus platform as well. So it kind of made sense to have all of you be a part of the announcement. And that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to actually throw a party here at home. I mean, who needs a massive rock show in a convention center when you have PowerPoint, right? Okay, so important disclaimer. We're going to be showing some of what's to come, probably right on the cusp of what we're comfortable divulging. Some of the stuff we're going to talk about, some of the stuff you're going to see won't be in 1.0. It may not be in 1.1. I had to Photoshop a bunch of stuff at the last second, like, oh crap, we can't show that yet. So don't look too closely. Just know that in the coming weeks and months, we're going to have a lot more to share, so just be patient. All right. here we go. So despite the video you just saw, we're actually not showing a new flagship today. We are showing 2 new flagships. Helix Stadium and Helix Stadium floor, Helix Stadium XL floor.
How about you take a minute to just savor that? Savor that for just a second. Very nice.
So with what we now call OG Helix starting right now, we didn't know we were going to end up with a platform at all. Steve talked about this. We thought it was going to be a 3-4 year in and out kind of thing, and much less that we'd be supporting it and updating it tirelessly for 10 plus years, including major back-end overhauls, Helix core improved oversampling, all new cab engine from scratch, a ton of other major and minor improvements, some of which we talk about, some of which we don't, not to mention amp and effect modeling that gets better over years. Yes, so we like to say that Helix doesn't get older, it matures. So conversely, Helix Stadium's all-new modular platform has been specifically architected from the very beginning to be extensible and updated for a long, long time, which is very different from what we've ever done before. So even today, Helix floors, noise, and dynamic range specs are not only best in this space, they're actually better than a lot of multi-$1,000 audio interfaces. So Helix Stadium improves upon this with our patented high dynamic range circuits on all analog inputs, not just one guitar in, resulting in up to 126 dB on the instrument ins, 120 dB on the effects returns and augs in, and 128 dB on the mic in. The mic's preamp also sounds better and has more gain. We've redesigned the headphone output, so it's much more forgiving for a much wider variety of headphones, so it sounds great on all headphones. And the whole thing has noticeably more headroom. So that means that your existing Helix and HX presets could sound better without any tweaking at all. We also have more DSP, obviously, a dedicated GPU, machine learning accelerator, FPGAs, and it's all running on a brand new from the ground up floating point architecture. Stadium and Stadium XL are actually quite similar on the ins and outs front.
This is huge. Okay, so look at this. This is going to be great because if you look at the Helix LT, it has no mic ins or outs or anything like that. If I'm not mistaken, I don't think it has any XLRs. No, it doesn't have any XLRs that I can see. It may, well, actually, it may have a line out XLR, but it doesn't have all these in and outs and everything. So he's about to explain the difference between the two. And this is really good stuff here.
Besides the obvious treadle and high contrast OLED scribble strips, which are better than Helix's screens, Helix Stadium adds 1 extra instrument input, 2 extra effects loops, and 1 extra dual control jack. Other than that, the I/O is identical. They both have mic preamps. They both have SPDIF, USB-C, and USB-A ports, a removable 32 gig micro SD card, and a Burley internal power supply. And all of this I/O fits into chassis that are notably smaller than Helix or Helix LT. Stadium XL's footprint is 25% smaller than Helix floor. Stadium is 42% smaller. And on the weight front, Helix Stadium XL, even though it has a ton more hardware packed inside, it's 21% lighter, and Stadium is just over half the weight.
That's big too. That's form factor has been a huge thing. Since a lot of other people have been kind of shortening things and making a smaller form factor. And that's pretty cool that the actual full floor thing is smaller than the floor, and the 25% smaller than the actual floor. So, or the LT, because the LT's about the same size. All right, so I'm going to try just a second here to kind of shorten, if it'll let me. I don't know if it will. I've always had problems with this. Let's see. I'm trying to get my image to allow me to transform it. Let's see. Transform. Edit transform. I still got to figure out this OBS, the way it's working on my computer here. Crop bounding box, crop right. Oh, maybe that's what I'm looking for. Yeah. Surely you don't have to just sit here and do this by typing in numbers. Okay, well that'll be good enough. All right, so that's where we got right now. Let's continue on, and wherever necessary, I will remove my image here, okay? And I'm just muting my microphone so that you don't hear the air conditioner in the background, the fan.
So this new platform that we built isn't just for more stuff. It was mission critical for us to help deliver the single biggest leap Line 6 has made in our near 30 years of modeling amps, and we call this Agora. Agora was the street you all drove in on today. If you remember on Google Maps, it turned on Agora, right? It was also the street that our previous building was on, so it sort of represents home for us. It represents living here in Southern California, so we thought it was appropriate. But it's important to understand, Agora is not HX on steroids. It is an entirely new subcomponent behavioral architecture and modeling methodology. There's all new tube emulation, where we actually measure detailed parameters of the actual real tubes modeled in that particular amp, voltages, currents, capacitance, and more. We've invented a new way of modeling power stages, both push-pull and single-ended, in conjunction with a power supply, so we can capture the detailed dynamic interaction between the signal and power supply, which makes the transient response more realistic, so how it actually responds under your fingers and pick. Agora also models circuit feedback more accurately than has been possible before. Not only each instrument's ideal characteristics and behavior, but the real-world nuances too, because they don't always sound or behave the same, right? Even things like capacitance between runs of wiring in the chassis are accounted for. There's also detailed plate and grid voltage data, all new sag, bias, ripple behavior emulation, double precision tone stacks, interblock communication, so cab blocks can talk back to the amp block for dynamic speaker impedance curves, even when effects are between them.
Notice something new here, and I want to talk about this later, but I'll go ahead and talk about it now. We've got a new icon, and there are several new icons. So I'm very curious to see what these are. The reverb still looks the same, still looks like a box, but look, we have this delay, and now we have a square delay. Now we have this. I think this is volume and panning. We got this too. This is something new. There's a lot of new stuff here going on. I don't know if this is supposed to mean spring reverb or it changes on the type of reverb, but that's pretty cool. And I like the way they've got the new split merge blocks here, the way they look. Yeah, really, really cool stuff here.
And a lot more. If you name it, if it makes the smallest impact to responsiveness, not necessarily even things you can hear, we captured it. To start out, we're starting with 16 Agora guitar amps and 6 Agora bass amps, but we'll continue to add a bunch more through firmware updates. The trick is that real amps aren't perfect. They have all sorts of imperfections and artifacts that may not be pleasing to the ear. So you have, and I'm sure you guys have, by show of hands, who's actually played a 6869 Plexi dimed without earplugs? It's wild. Everybody knows what a Plexi sounds like. I've actually played in front of one. So that's kind of why Line 6 original amps like Ventu and Elmsley have been so popular, because they represent unique, idealized amps that in some cases couldn't exist in the real world. All Agora amps have a hype knob. So depending on the amp and amp parameters, increasing hype subtly or dramatically, it adjusts a bunch of behind-the-scenes parameters to maybe make the amp sound a bit smoother, fuller, punchier, and or more forgiving, but at the expense of accuracy. So if you're really familiar with a particular amp, then leave it off. You might hate it. But if you're not familiar with that amp, or you're familiar with it on records, or you think it might sound a particular way, maybe turn it up a bit, and you may find that the sound in your head is easier to achieve with fewer additional processing blocks. Okay, I don't know who's old school here. This was a Line 6 print ad from late 97, 98. And what's crazy is Dolly the sheep, the first clone sheep, was born in 96, so our marketing team was on point, right? In addition to Agora, early next year, we're introducing our own bespoke amp, cab, effect, and signal chain cloning engine we call Proxy. So hold on.
Did you hear that? They're going to introduce their own cloning system. That's big. That they needed this to enter the market space with something new, because everything is doing this now. Even though I don't feel like they had to do it, it doesn't seem like it's going to take anything away from it with this new feature being implemented into it, because that's what the market wants, right? Myself, I don't need it. I don't have amps to clone. It'd be nice to be able to download amps or something like that, but I'm looking at the microphone instead of you. Sorry about that. But it'd be nice to download amps or things like that, but it's not a deal breaker for me, to have amp capturing technology or not. But this is pretty cool. A lot of people have been asking for this.
So we fully understand that open source solutions are doing amazing things in this space, And jury's still out on whether Helix Stadium goes there or not, but we wanted.
Oh, that's big. A lot of people have been asking about NAM technology, NAM, Neural Amp Modeler. And he said the jury's still out whether it's going to be able to implement third-party and open source amp modeling technology. So that may be something to look forward to in the future. So that's a big deal.
To do something unique and interesting. So Proxy is unique in that its core architecture and capabilities are designed to expand beyond amp and effect capture. Maybe things that aren't even audio.
Maybe things that aren't even audio. What exactly would that mean? Capturing video. Video has audio on it. I don't know exactly what that would mean. So I'll leave that up to you to maybe put in the comments. What do you think this thing could capture besides that? Yeah.
It also sends training data wirelessly to the cloud, no computer necessary, which means you can train better models due to the power of cloud server processing. And while the servers are crunching numbers, you can keep making music. You don't have to wait for it. As soon as your clone appears in the model list, Stadium lets you know. It also lets us improve the cloning technology independent of not only what firmware you happen to be on, but what hardware you own. Let's talk about UI UX real quick. So the floor multi-effects market looked and operated very differently before Helix. No big color screens, no scribble strips, no RGB LEDs, no massive cluster of I/O, everything hiding in menus, imitation, flattery. We've all seen the meme, right? The point is because of the hundreds of thousands of users familiar with Helix and how it operates, we wanted to maintain muscle memory, but we wanted to improve as much as we possibly could. You'll notice that we've doubled down on real tactile controls. Helix Stadium adds 2 extra push encoders and 5 extra dedicated push buttons, so you don't have to do the tap, tap, swipe, swipe, back, 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 close, close thing that you get. You can choose to use tactile controls or the touchscreen or both, however you're accustomed to working. And just like Helix, touch any stomp and it instantly jumps to whatever assigned blocks, controllers as foot switches or commands instantly. So how do you take UI, UX, and functionality that artists, producers, and engineers have used day in and day out for a decade and make it easier, faster, and more enjoyable? And the answer is tricky because Helix doesn't have just one type of customer. So if you're a new user, either to multi-effects in general, or even like you just haven't played Guitar Gear at all, every single parameter tells you what it does. Here's the global parameters, your amp parameters, your cab or effect parameters, just by tapping it. So not everybody needs to know what gain does on an amp. You should know what that means. But even experts might need a refresher on what steps or boomerang do in our crazy tessellator delay. So instead of having to go dig through a parameter guide online, we built it into Helix Stadium.
That is big.
Assigning controllers now takes 2 seconds instead of 3, and you don't even have to dig into any menus to access all of your min and max. It's just right there. As we grow this list of amps, cabs, effects, and other stuff over the coming years, the search function in the model list makes it really easy to find what you want. You can type in the real amp.
Yes, that is correct. There is a search function. That's big. That's huge. Not enough good things to say about this.
Title name, the model list will call up all the items, even across different categories. Searching presets works the same way. If you tap this little camera icon down in the lower left-hand corner, this will let you see our new focus view, which kind of dives.
And yes, that's another thing that they have implemented, touchscreen. But the cool thing is they've kept the knobs. They've kept the knobs. So touchscreen is, now you can enable touchscreen, and there's a lot of stuff that you can do with this touchscreen that he's about to tell you about. But also, don't those amp models look awesome? Nothing else has this kind of look to it in a hardware form factor. The closest thing is probably Fender's Tone Master thing that they came out with. I think it was last year. But even then, it's nothing like this. So, touchscreen, to me, I can do that. It doesn't matter to me. It doesn't bother me to have it. But the cool thing is, if I was to get this, I can see myself moving things around and maybe changing focus, and then dialing things in with the knobs still, rather than trying to do it on the screen. But it's another level of navigation that totally helps with the device. So, yeah. Let me know. What do you think in the comments? Do you like the touchscreen function? What do you think about it?
Dives into each model and provides additional context and tools. So most amps and effects feature 5 touch zones with descriptive terms like clean, tight, dirty, squishy. Sometimes they get a little clever or whatever. Just slide your finger around the field until it sounds close to what you want, and then just tweak with the knobs. So if you're a new user and you've never played that amp or effect before, Focus View can showcase the variety of sounds and behavior of that amp or effect and act as a great springboard for dialing in your own sounds. It even
So basically what he's saying is you can see this moving, this little camera icon. You move it closer to what you want it to sound like. There's 5 different places. And then from there, once you get close to where you want to, you can come down here and dial in the rest of it. Okay? Really cool. Now, I'm going to save the next comment for what he's about to reveal here.
and teaches you how that sound was made because the sliders adjust in real time. For power users, however, you can customize each zone's settings and name, treating them like 5 subtle or radically different variations of that amper effect that you can then morph between with your finger.
Okay, that's key. He said morph between the parameters. I use the DAW I use is called Traction Waveform, and they have a plugin called Biotech, and several other plugins that do the kind of the same thing. Mach Wave Razor is another one. Basically, there's these different sounds that are in the different sections of the plugin. Whenever you play them, it's an instrument plugin, so you place a key or a chord or whatever on your MIDI keyboard, and then you can drag this, and one corner might sound more metallic, the other one might sound more animal-like, some birds chirping or something like that. But it has all these different areas that you can drag, and a lot of synth plugins today and noisescape plugins have that kind of feature. This is what we're seeing with Helix Stadium.
And what's cool is that focus view stays open when you're in this mode. So when you're jumping from stomp to amp or whatever with the amp button and the switches, it stays open. So the whole experience is literally tap distortion. I want this to be a bit angrier. Tap reverb. I want this to be a bit bloomier, a little less bloomier. Press the amp button. Okay, tighter, squishier, too squishy, perfect. So it is the absolute fastest path from getting the sound in your head into something you can actually experience. For cabs, focus view lets you move the mic around in 3D space, which is fun. And for EQs, it lets you dial in curves. So it's contextual. It depends on the model, right?
We now have graphic EQs. Thank you, Line 6. Awesome.
We've also provided a bunch of new contextual tools at the preset level. So all factory presets contain tips on how to best use them. For your own presets, you can freely type in helpful information like what instrument to use, what pickup was used, what was the tuning, what was your playback system, are there any creative controller assignments, what do the snapshots do, what's your favorite taco recipe? We don't care, right? And what's great is when you share these presets online, people have a much better idea of what you're trying to accomplish. But you can never have enough context. Every factory preset will also include a unique dry guitar clip that plays through the preset, created by the person who made the preset, so you can hear it in context. So,
that's very cool. There's no more need for having to have a looper on your Helix, on your preset, just to play what you're playing, get the looper engaged, and then start switching tones so that you can hear the different settings. You can just play this and then change your tones based on it. That looks like the way to do it anyway, but that's pretty cool as well.
So you grab a 7-string ESP at your local guitar emporium, you walk up to Helix Stadium, you plug it in, not realizing that it's a country chicken picking preset designed for a passive telly, and you start chugging, you're like, that's horrible, wait a second, and you hit the little clip icon, you're like, oh wait, that actually sounds great, it was me, or it was my instrument, or my playing style, or whatever. For power users, you can record your own clips to help dial in presets without having to constantly switch between playing and editing. All right, foot switch modes have been drastically enhanced. You can use foot switch 6 to toggle between the 2 modes you use the most, and you can swap them out in like 3 seconds. There are now 2 layers of stomps, stomp A and stomp B. So if you use the control jacks for 4 additional foot switches, you can have a total of 25 stomps per preset. Go ham. If you hold FS6, you get into more foot switch mode. This is where you access the additional 4 modes that aren't on FS6. But it also gives you quick access to a bunch of helpful functions like accessing the clip with your feet, accessing info with your feet, built-in stopwatch, metronome, quick save, and muting all outputs between sets. Our brand new file system lets you load thousands of IRs or create thousands of favorites and organize them into nested folders however you like. And I want my worship tutorial IRs in here. I want all my tape delay presets in here. They're all there. And remember, if you place all of your favorite amps or effects in the top level, you can access them without loading the model list at all, simply by spinning the lower knob, just like Helix. You can organize your presets into up to 126 different set lists, and changes you make to one preset will echo through any other set list that happens to exist.
I love that part. Changes you make to one echoes to other presets in other set lists. Right now I'm having to drag and drop to different multiple set lists the same preset. Whenever I make a change on one, I got to remember where I saved it last time and drag it over that one to make sure they're both the same. And then drag it into Helix Native to make sure that's the same. So hopefully all this will sync now without having to worry about that. So that's really cool.
All new presets you make start from a list of templates, and you can make your own templates, so you don't have to make presets from scratch unless you really want to. If you are a current Helix or HX user, you don't have to recreate them manually in Helix Stadium. You'll be able to import them. So there are a couple small caveats, like we've deprecated the older hybrid cabs, so you'll want to make sure you convert everything to one of the new cabs before you move it over, but you should be up and running very quickly. Let's see, what else? The 4 stereo paths now have 12 blocks.
Okay, look at this. This is some of these icons I was telling you about. We've got looks like they're changing these based on what the type is. Okay, so this EQ is a tilt. This one is probably a 10 band or a graphic parametric. We have probably a room. No, this is a different kind of delay. I don't know exactly what that would be. We got maybe a panner here, maybe volume. We've got, I don't know what that is. We've got a wall pedal that looks different. Here's some kind of knob. Here's 3 delay things. Another type of delay. Here's, I don't know what that is. Maybe that's a Leslie modulator. The modulation might be looking a little different. Here's a keyboard pitch. Here's a kind of a synth Moog looking pitch. Here's a kind of maybe a Tape Machine retro reel type of thing. So I mean that's huge if they change all these. I mean, on the one hand, the color scheme of these is very easy to figure out. You've got blue for modulation, green for delay, orange for reverb. But now that you got all these different icons going along with, I mean, look at this. Even the amp icons have changed. We've got something that looks like a Mesa Boogie 2 and maybe, I don't know, Soldano or something here, or Mark II or what, Mesa Boogie, whatever. Even the amp icons have changed. So if they've updated the icons for all this, it may get a little bit more confusing, but who knows? Just as long as you know the color scheme, that may be all you need. It will be. I think it'll be pretty cool to see what the included cheat sheet for this new Helix lineup will look like, because there's going to be a lot more. I don't know if there's going to be able to put all this concisely on one cheat sheet. I know when you have the cheat sheet, I do not have it with me. I don't know where I put it, but they say if you memorize the cheat sheet on the current Helix line, you know about 95% of how to work the Helix. And so my guess is, I don't know if they'll be able to make another cheat sheet that's one page flip over and then another page long. I don't know. This is pretty cool. This is really exciting. All right, let's keep going.
Blocks each, and while they do take up block locations, multiple splits and merges can be added to the same path. Let's see, above the big knob, we have our dedicated output buttons. They determine whether you're controlling the 1/4-inch XLR phone's output level, or you can disable it entirely. If you press the button again, and you'll see our new flexible matrix Q mixer, and each layer is fully dependent, so you can have a completely different monitor mix for the 1/4-inch outputs to your amp, the XLR outputs to the front of house, or the phone's output to your in-ears, or the drummer, or the musical director.
This is one thing I want to point out too. This is big, the fact that you get your own mixer for each output. This is really catering to the touring musician and to the live musician. This is one of the points I wanted to bring out, is lately, ever since the Quad Cortex came out, we have had a lot of touring musicians and modern guitarists, really pushing it. And people like Pliny, Rubia Masad, Kiko Loureiro, Jack Gardner, all great players. All of them use the Quad Cortex, and I've seen some of them how they will use the Quad Cortex to basically control all the rigs or whatever and all this. But this is cool that they've actually built this to cater to musicians that tour live, maybe to bring some of those other musicians that I've just mentioned over to this camp. Maybe give them a try, to test them out. But the first question I'm wondering is, what about the average home studio musician like me? I don't get out and tour. Everything that I have is set up in my office, in my home studio, my shed here. So, what exactly, besides the tones and all that, is there anything kind of cater to our type of group, you know, the type of group that I'm talking about now. So that's very interesting to think about. What do you think about, leave me something in the comments below about what your take is on that.
Each layer gets individual level, pan, mute, and solo for each of the 4 stereo paths independently. USB in 1, 2, Bluetooth audio, aux in, the metronome, and all 8 stereo audio tracks. You can link 2 or all matrix layers together, and each one gets its own global EQ, whether they're linked or not. Let's talk about control for a second. So every parameter can be controlled by a local controller, like expression pedal switches, brand new XY controller, which is...
This gets more into that morphing kind of, you know, thing I was telling about earlier.
You can access really quickly with a single button press. You can map however many parameters you want to the X and Y axis, again, 2 seconds. So you can instantly access that, or wirelessly from your phone, whatever, eventually. And
wireless? Wireless? Did he say wireless? Maybe a mobile app involved in this pretty soon.
And but you could also control snapshots, or snapshots can be assigned to the exact same parameters, and MIDI notes or MIDI CCs can be assigned to the same parameter, so it works in sort of a last one win sort of thing. So it's not exclusive. You can have all of those control the same parameter. Our venerable command center is still here. You get your 2 layers. This is dedicated to manual control of all your external gear, obviously. So if you want to switch your preset on your external pedals, or your keyboards patch, or software keystroke, or MIDI to DMX lighting cue, you can still do that. You do get 2 commands per switch, however, and each one responds to press, release, hold.
Notice he said lighting cues, so this could probably even control MIDI commands to your light show. That's awesome.
Their toggle. And remember, because you have Stomp A and Stomp B, if you wanted to, you could dedicate Stomp B to nothing but commands. You still have access to all of that. We have 16 instant commands now per preset for spitting out all sorts of stuff when a preset or snapshot is recalled, a bunch of handy new utility commands, and we even have drum trigger inputs if you want to go nuts. So then your drummer could set the system tempo, start song playback, or trigger an internal loop or external drum machine. You know, it's nuts. So this is what we're talking about, the manual control that we've all sort of been comfortable with if you've used Command Center. However, I want to ask a kind of a dumb, weird question of the audience. So on a multi-effect, in a perfect world, what's the ideal number of foot switches? Just one more? Yeah. There? 12. Oh, see, now you're just a suck up. All right, so we believe there's an objectively correct answer to this, and it's 0. Because, remember, perfect world, you win the lottery, and you call your weird neighbor Al, who was a roadie in the 90s, and he brings his buddies over, and they run your rig for you. You don't have to do anything. You just get to play and have fun. That's the dream, right? So that brings us to our Showcase automation engine. With Showcase, Helix Stadium is set to control your entire stage automatically. It's like having a guitar tech, bass tech, keyboard tech, playback tech, maybe even a lighting/video tech at your beck and call. If you just want to jam along with your favorite 20 or 50 or 500 songs, load them into Helix Stadium and then use the transport foot switch mode to recall them. That's real easy. And if you save the song, it recalls the preset. So you don't even have to go hunting for the preset if you want to jam along with your favorite song. And if that's all you care about, great. Next step might be, when you're loading in tracks, you ask the Helix Stadium app to split the song into stems. So then you can...
What? Split your song into stems? So that you can control the backing track while you're playing, rather than having to foot tap all over everything? Yes. Keep listening.
You can mute the guitar or bass part, or turn it down by 12 dB. So now what you're doing is you're not playing on top of your favorite songs, you're mixed into your favorite songs. And that means that your presets now suddenly sound better because they're done within a band context. So that sort of disparity between how it sounds when you play alone versus how it sounds in band practice can then go away. But songs aren't static. So like Igor, Mr. Bungle, 12-Foot Ninja, their songs are all over the place and they're constantly changing. They always keep you on your toes. Showcase lets you easily drag flags onto the song's timeline when you want that event to take place. So now your song can switch from your verse snapshot to your chorus snapshot to your solo snapshot without hitting a single foot switch. Remember, 0 foot switches. You can also reorder sections of the song on the fly, extend solos, cycle parts of the song, and more.
This is what I was referring to about all the guys with quad cortexes basically automating their whole show. Helix has now stepped up the game with this. So, yeah, nothing else does this stuff. So this is the next. This is not just the next gen. This is like 3 gens ahead of anything. Everything else seems to be out of its league. I mean, yes, there are other. The big one is Axe Effects for parameter control and everything. But this, to me, is more functional for the live gigging musician. Even if it's on a small level, you know, people like John Cordy, he gigs Helixes all the time. He gigs, you know, the Pod Go or whatever. Not Pod Go, but the HX Stomp. So it'd be interesting to see what him and Steven Solacci and some of the other people who actually tour live, how they implement using this and what new things they come up with. So that'd be really cool.
Then you think, well, what else can I do? Say I drag 3 looper flags onto the timeline. I have set one to record, one to stop, and another one to play. So now during the second chorus, I'm harmonizing with what I just played in the first chorus. And then you realize, well, wait, I can load in 8 of my own stems from my own record, drag amp flags to switch my amp in real time, drag MIDI flags to control all of my external pedals, which also sync to tempo, recall patches in my keyboards and drum machines, go nuts and trigger MIDI to DMX lighting, send a play message to your laptop that's projecting to the audience or the congregation, and it all happens automatically. So it's important to understand that Showcase also works independently of tracks. You don't have to use tracks if you don't want to. You can take the markers and apply a bunch of flags there, and you can sequentially step through all of those sets of markers just like you might do from a single switch. So one switch was very, very close, my friend. But if those markers happen to be attached to a timeline, it all happens for you with no input, no tap dancing. So you can stop worrying about the technology and focus on what's important, your performance, your bandmates, and the audience.
And that is big, like he said, for the congregation. That is big for Helix is used big a lot for worship leaders and things like that. So that's huge for those type of consumers.
You could just use Showcase as a method of dialing in those tones within a band context again, because as you know, it sounds very different from environment to environment. So with Showcase, we've gone from an extremely casual playing experience, just jamming along with your favorite songs, all the way to a fully automated stage on your world tour, and you're using the exact same tools. It's not like you have to learn more as you go. It's literally dragging audio files in and choosing what events you want to have take place. So that's Showcase. All right, Nexus is Yamaha Guitar Group's all-new modular, networkable, multi-channel I/O and control protocol. So it's fairly open-ended, and it lets us expand the ins and
Sorry, something else I forgot to mention earlier when I was doing the ins and outs that I missed. Look at this, micro SD up to 32 gigs, they said earlier. So you can store your tones on a micro SD card if you need to. This is also the part I'm least excited about because of all the things that he says this is for. So,
and outs and control capabilities of Helix Stadium. Although Helix Stadium, unfortunately, no longer has VDI and L6 links jacks built in, we absolutely could not abandon our PowerCab Plus and Variax users, of which I am. So the first Nexus accessory we're announcing is Expand D10. Expand D10 adds Variax, L6 link, and via 8-channel optical, you can run 8 channels to audio interfaces to expand the input count of your studio. And almost every audio interface, $500 and above, has an ADAT input, right? Or you can also run that to your digital console or your stage box or one of those affordable DA converters that give you XLR outputs. So you now have 10 XLR outs from Helix Stadium. Go nuts. And what's cool is that Nexus is an open-ended protocol. So even though this is the first of hopefully many accessories, we don't necessarily know all of the accessories that it could support. And you guys could tell us what type of accessories you want it to support. So we also have a new expression pedal called EX2, because Helix Stadium doesn't have an expression pedal, but if you want one, you can put it on the left side if you're a left-footed person. Other than its matching aesthetics, Goldilocks size, it's not too big, it's not too small, very lightweight, it's cast aluminum. The whole thing is true plug and play with a single TRS cable. So you don't have to worry about losing your Y adapters or anything like that. It's also true plug and play, coincidentally, with HX Stomp XL, PodGo, and PodExpress. And of course, when you're on your world tour, you're gonna need something to carry it all in. Helix backpack. Helix Stadium backpack, sorry. So our industrial design guru, Dale, designed this completely in-house. We did not slap our name on some OEM bag. It was designed in-house specifically for the needs of the touring and traveling musician. So it's comfortable to wear, highly water and impact resistant. It's actually a roll top to keep your stuff waterproof-ish. Has USB pass-through for a phone battery, secret compartments for tracking chips. So if somebody steals your Helix Stadium, you can go beat them up. A ton of room for EX2, Expand D10, cables, music, books, tuna sandwiches, whatever. So we haven't gotten into man, there's so much to talk about. We didn't have time. We haven't gotten into like built-in multi-client Wi-Fi, wireless editing, automatic wireless updates, Bluetooth, new strobe tuner, side-chaining compressors and gates, and all the cool other cloud stuff. And there's a bunch of other big things that we just can't talk about just yet. So, million-dollar questions. When and how much? So, it shouldn't be any surprise to anybody, but these are coming above Helix and Helix LT. Helix Stadium processors start at $17.99. Beginning on June 25th, you can reserve your Helix Stadium online or in stores. So,
okay, let's talk about that for a second. Big question, is this worth that? Big answer for me, absolutely. You are still getting a heck of a deal. That's still way below any kind of boutique amp that you can go out there and buy, and even some amps that aren't boutique. And you're getting all the things that are going to come with it for the next long time. So we have the form factor of the top one, Helix Stadium, which is kind of like everybody's been requesting that it, you know, the quad cortex is kind of the new standard, and the FM3 from Axifex, Fractal. This is perfect, you know, and I like the fact that they've got the external expression pedal if you want to buy it to, you know, if you don't already have your own, or if you want one that's, you know, made especially for the Helix. And this begs the question. I added this up when I first watched the live stream. The difference is $400 between both of these. So keep in mind that the stadium, the regular stadium on top there, has a few less inputs, and it has no scribble strips. So the expression pedal is bound to be less than $400. It may be like $150. It may be what, you know, today's Pod Express costs, $179 or something like that. Even at that price, it's still about $200 less than if you bought the full Helix Stadium XL. So, you know, which one would I choose? Obviously, I'd choose the XL if I could. But for my uses, I would choose the Helix Stadium because I could get the expression pedal separate, or I could use the expression pedal I have now, which is totally fine. I think it was $25 to buy it, and it should work just fine. It's the M Audio, I think, expression pedal, the one that's got, you know, kind of looks gray on the top. It works fine for what I need it to do, and you'll be saving $400 if you do that. So that's my opinion. That's what I would choose, is probably the Helix Stadium right off the bat. Will I be getting one? We'll be talking about that here in just a little bit after this is just about done. So we'll have a little discussion after this is over here.
Also, note that we are not done with OG Helix. They're not going anywhere, and we still have plans for them. We're keeping them in the market at new, lower prices. Helix Floor will now be $12.99. Helix Rack will be $13.99, and Helix LT is down to $8.99.
And these prices are effective now.
So there is still a lot of work.
They are effective now on Sweetwater. You can check out the links below to get your hands on a Helix. Okay, so definitely check those out.
For us to do. I'm not looking forward to tomorrow's meetings. And there's also a lot of information coming to all of you. Videos, blogs, audio clips, memes, a lot of sarcastic rants from Digital Igloo on the forums, you name it. So don't be all, where's the manual? It's coming. Please be patient with us. For those in the room who want to know more, we've set up several interview rooms around the building.
Okay, that's pretty much the live stream there. Give me just a second to add that link that I told you would be in the thing. I just realized that I don't think it was in there, so let me go ahead and add the link for you to go ahead and get your Helix. If you use my link, it will help support this channel. It is an affiliate link. I just get a small kickback for that. So that's all that is. I just wanted to make that known. Let me go ahead and add that link. This will take you to let's see, be just fine what I'm looking for here. Okay, that's why it's on a different page. This is what I'm looking for, okay. So this will take you to Sweetwater, which is my preferred site. And once again, I would really appreciate you checking out the link below for to help with the, help with the channel. So let's go ahead and talk about this just a little bit. All right. So we have some of my questions here that I'm looking at, and let me go ahead and put myself on the other screen so I can actually see what I'm doing here, what's going on. Okay. So let's just go from the top. What I've got here, and let's set the scene, shall we? Let's set the scene for this real quick. Change my lights here if it'll let me. There we go. All right, very nice, very nice. Yes, good deal. Okay, so once again, will I be getting a Helix Stadium? And should you get a Helix Stadium? Well, that's the big question, as he was saying earlier, the big $1 million question. For me personally, I have an Helix LT, and I've been using it for the last 3 years, 2 years, something like that. Love it. I got it with Helix Native. Didn't get it with Helix Native. I bought Helix Native after the fact with a huge discount. Love Helix Native. And for me, to go ahead and get rid of this now, just to get a pre-order on the Helix Stadium, I don't see the purpose in that. Unless this breaks down, I don't plan on getting Helix Stadium right now. And I don't plan on getting it used when it comes out on the market. I'd like to have it brand new with warranty and everything. Or at least a demo model, which is probably what I would do from Sweetwater. Again, link below. For me, I mean, I love the Helix. And it's funny, looking at all that stuff that's coming up, I look down on my Helix floor and I'm like, wow, that looks kind of outdated now. Because they're setting the bar so high on the UI and the way that everything looks, the sleek trim look of it. Helix LT does not have scribble strips. It doesn't have all the in and outs and things like that, but it has all the sounds. It has tons of amps and everything. They just continue to support it, and they just said, once again, they're not going to abandon the Helix line, the original OG Helix line. So that's a big plus. The other thing is, they're calling this Helix Stadium, which once again, it will cater to those who are in, arenas and who go and tour, even if it's just, people like Jason Stallworth. He uses a Pod Go, and he also uses, he also gigs live. So that's another one that would probably use something like this. For me, I can totally use the LT for what I need. If I decide to go play live, I've used it before in a church setting. It worked just fine. Loved it. And so the other thing was with the naming scheme, I was really disappointed they didn't use the double helix, because I thought that's what they need to name it. But I guess this caters to their market they're trying to reel in. But with Helix Native, it would be cool, instead of calling it Helix Native, what if they called it Helix Studio? So that it would cater more to the home studio people like me, who just mess with Helix here in the studio. I actually use HX Edit to control my Helix, so that everything is... My Helix for me is my main control center, I guess what you might call. Control... if you're a Star Trek fan, it's the bridge. It's the main control area. And then everything else, Helix Native, everything else gets changed based on what I'm doing on my Helix. Because I can take my Helix anywhere, right? So with me, it would be cool to have something called Helix Studio that includes all this new tech that they've talked about, but in the box kind of thing, for home studio musicians like me who record, produce, whatever at home, not necessarily going out to the road. So it would be cool if they had the next integration of Helix Native would be called Helix Studio or something like that, and would cater to the studio musician. So let's see what else. Already talked about that. The one thing they didn't mention is the HX line, HX Stomp XL, the price dropping on that. It would be cool if it did, because I would like to have an HX Stomp. That's one thing that I don't have that I'd like to have. But I have a Pod Go. I'm happy with it. I don't see myself selling all my gear just to go out and get one of these things. I just don't see that happening, because I like the portability of what I have. The reason I got a Pod Go in the first place is so I could have a practice rig in the house and not have to lug my HX or my Helix LT everywhere. The cool thing about this is, though, with the new form factor, do you necessarily need an HX Stomp? Maybe not. And my guess is they're going to come out with an HX Stadium Stomp or whatever eventually down the line, but this is what they're going to start with. Kind of see how the market reacts to it. Let's see, if you didn't catch what they was talking about earlier on the DSP, it allows for 12 blocks per DSP chip. So that's amazing. That's huge. They said, up to 25 stomps or whatever, based on their control thing. I mean, this is going to be a huge overhaul from what they've done in the past. Bigger than anything, like you said, and they've done in their 30 years. So it just gets, everything is now going to have to raise themselves up to this bar. It's not all about capturing now. With this new release, it's about function, it's about form, and I think that is way leaps and bounds above the capturing. And when they came out with, I forget what they called it, but the little box that, they can integrate everything into, one of my predictions was that they was going to come out with another piece of hardware to allow you to import captures into Helix. And this may very well do that too, I don't know. But if they're coming out with their own capture technology called Proxy, then there will be no need for that, right? But there might be. If you don't want to get the new Helix, but you want to still have that capturing ability, they may have a way to, they may come out with something like that. So that would be another piece of hardware that you can actually bring that, if you're interested in that, bring that technology to your current OG Helix lines. Let's see here. Once again, the pricing, I believe, is highly reasonable. $17.99 is what I think the Quad Cortex goes for now. The Kemper just recently announced the Mark II, which I think was a huge disappointment to most Kemper people, because it was basically the same form factor. Same outdated screen. It just looks like a dark mode for Kemper to me. That's my opinion. Not to say that Kemper is not a good product. It is a good product. It's nothing bad about it, but it was, I think it was a huge letdown for most people. This, I'm a Helix user. Most Helix user here, I think, are really pleased with this. There's already, I can see already see on my sideboard here on, and I'm about to sign off here and watch a bunch of these videos about the new Helix Stadium. There's a lot of videos already coming out about it. Cordy's got one. There's Hey Worship Leader, I think, just came out with one not too long ago, right after it, launched, basically. But this was what I wanted to kind of give you guys as my 2 cents worth. What I think is coming down the pike. There's also some other things. I can't wait to start talking about this. Even though myself, I will probably not purchase one of these any time in the near future. Once again, if the Helix LT goes down, then yes, I will consider getting the Helix Stadium. Not the XL, but the actual Helix Stadium. But for now, I am totally happy with the tones I have gotten through the Helix. The marketplace and everything. Bumblefoot tones that I've got and purchased. Marcos Foley's tones with boutique tones. I mean, they're amazing. And the cool thing is, there was even one spot that Eric Klein, the guy that was presenting there, he had mentioned that with the new updates that they've done to the Helix internal engine, that, and let me check the chat. I have been looking at it, but I haven't looked at it just a minute. Okay, nobody's in the chat. With the new updates they've been doing to the internal engine, basically the Helix has been brand new. The only thing that hasn't changed is the hardware, but it's been completely revamped from the ground up over and over and over again underneath the hood. Okay, so with that being said, these new amps, he said at one point on one of these videos that have recently come out from the Line 6 channel, is that if you have a preset, let's see if I can explain this. If you have a preset that's in the Helix right now, and you go in and you change the amp and you change it back to the amp you had before, or if you go ahead and basically if you do that, if you change it to the new amp, like let's say I have a Soldano and I go and I change the Soldano to something else and come back to the Soldano, that amp engine is now completely updated based on what's been happening underneath the hood. And I haven't done that yet, but I'm probably going to go and try to do that with my own presets. ericbeta.com/Helix presets, by the way. Links in the description below. So that's a really cool thing too, is the fact that we as Helix users who don't plan on upgrading immediately will still have that support that we've enjoyed over the past 10 years. And like he said, they're not abandoning it. They still have plans for it. I like the sound of that. So yeah, it's really cool what they've done with the Helix now. And don't feel like you're going to be left behind. If you already have bought a Helix, some people in the chat earlier was talking about how they had bought the Helix like a month ago, and now this happens. Well, that was my concern at first. Tripod. The future is already underway at Fractal. We call that a soft amp block reset on the AXFX3. Soft amp block reset. Not exactly sure what you're referring to on that. But yeah, anyway, going back to what I was saying, it's just amazing how much support they have and they plan on doing for current Helix users. So I'm really excited about that. If you have already bought a Helix, when I first got mine, I was like, man, I hope I don't buy this and they come out with something else. Well, it's been 3 years since that happened. But for those of you who have already bought a Helix or a Helix LT, and now you hear this, don't be disappointed, because there's plenty of stuff that they said coming down the pike. And one thing I'm happy about is that, because when I got my 11 rack, like the year after that, all support completely quit. So that's why I have not purchased anything from Headrush since then. The cool thing is, though, that I still have my Revolver amps and everything that I had bought before Headrush acquired that. So I don't have to worry about that. But I'm glad that Line 6 continues to support their products and their customer base, so we don't have to worry about all the functionality completely dropping with all these OS updates that are happening to Macs and all this stuff that's going on. So tripod, Trix drop D. Why I said tripod? It looks like tripod. When you recall a preset from an older firmware and change the amp model and go back, it resets to the new engine. Oh, okay. Soft amp block resets on AXFX3. So yeah. Thanks for commenting, by the way. So yeah, when you let me just read how he says it, because he explains it better than I did. When you recall a preset from an older firmware and change the amp model and go back, it resets it to the new engine. So that's what they've been saying, that the new engine basically has upgrades have been happening with the Helix. So that being said, that's pretty much all I have on this live stream, and I can tell my brain cells are starting to trail off. So I would like to go ahead and sign off. If you've enjoyed this, please leave a like, please subscribe, please share this with everybody that you know. And if you are a subscriber, or if you do subscribe, please click the notification bell, because that way you won't be missing all the updates I'm going to be giving every time I go live. Most of the time it's impromptu. I do have some more plans and some more ideas already bubbling up. There's also something else that I don't think has been leaked. Not that it hasn't been leaked, but that I may try to go on and do this immediately after this, and then upload it later. I don't know. But this has been the Creative Guitarist signing off. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next video, whatever that may be. As always, God bless, and keep creating.